Peace, world. How you doing? This is your brother Mikey Fever NYP Talk Show. Shout out to my brother Ron. Out, but we're gonna keep it rocking, keep you entertained. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, super chat. We on all streaming platforms. Keep up the download. Shout out to Europe that's supporting us. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Shout out to our subscribers and our new subscribers. If you're new to the channel, come on in. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe. I'm your brother and host Mikey Fever. Tonight we got our good doctor, our good brother Paul Dyer.
How you doing, Mikey? How you doing? Good.
I'm good.
Every
So we got our brother Reef in the building.
brother, I'm happy to hear you because
I gotta catch you on the phone.
I can't hear you, Sharif.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear him.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Very good, very good. Yeah, brother, I owe you a phone call. I've been Chinese New Year season had us crazy, bro.
I know it did. Yeah. Help celebrating the New Year. So, wow, what a week! I've been on the phone, really digging in from after what Dr. George Frazier had told us last week about.
That was a powerful show.
Yeah, because when he really took it to like something that we could do, like what about ourselves, and then what about family? We can't have a community if we don't have a strong family.
Exactly.
I mean, it seems so simple. Like if your household is so, you can't even agree on peanut butter, like in your household. I'm not talking about like small family squabbles, but like a family cohesiveness. How are you going to fit in a community when we need you to be?
That's a fact right there.
Tell me about it.
That's a fact right there.
Mm-hmm. So I've been really kind of really holding on to that baby when he dropped it on us, thinking, I'm sorry I didn't pay attention to you, little nurturing baby. Like we knew about it statistically. We logically understood about the environment. We actually we lumped it in there. Personally, I lumped it in there with nurturing and environment. Okay, so I knew it was a factor. I knew it was part of the tree. I knew it was part of the branches. It's not like if you mentioned it, it would have been like, oh, I never thought of that. That's not it at all. But when we focus on, so like if we take nurturing a home life or having a home life or even wanting to develop a home life as the beginning before you can actually be part of a community.
Doesn't that fall under, not to cut your wisdom, doesn't that fall under environmental neurosis or something like that?
Yes, if it's broken.
Yeah.
Right, but we're talking about like, what if you have a hard time nurturing your own personal community, your own inside your home, or your own with yourself? Like we always say, it starts with yourself, right? But we know that. But if you have a broken family, then we're not talking about families are nuclear families have been broken for all kinds of reasons. Exactly. So let's get that out of the way. We're not talking about, I can't even, I can't, not growing up with a father. I'm not talking about none of that. I'm talking about what you have right now that you consider family.
That's deep right there. That's deep right there. Many have to build it if it's not built.
But right. But if you have say like, what if you built your family, what you call family right now? Are you guys jiving together as a family? Whatever you call a family right now, I don't care if it's you and two hamsters and a dog. But if that's being comical, but say if you and a human are said you are family, I don't care what you call each other, but this is the family. How are you moving forward together?
That starts from the foundation. Many got to really be correct with themselves.
But the foundation's in what you call family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying you have to get a partner, a mate, but what if it's just two cousins and a sister? You got this is all we got. This is our family. How are you three moving forward? I'm not talking about each other's jobs or whatever, but how are you guys making inroads together as a collective group to be strong, so you can be strong for the community? Does that make sense, Sharif?
What you saying?
Well, a community, first of all, yes. The short answer is absolutely, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But now to contextualize it, is that particular family unit a fit with the community? Because the community is a family unit. You see what I'm saying? In other words, is that ashlar fit?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or does it need
some adjustment?
Does it need more squaring? So what you said, what Dr. Dyer said is 100% correct. But what also has to be factored in is that fit for that individual family unit conducive to the direction of the community itself,
the goals and everything else. Got you. No, that's deep. That's deep right there. And that's something we got to touch on when we return on that. But tonight we're going to talk about the psychology of victim mentality and why we stay stuck. This is something I have noticed for years, even experienced myself. I had to get out that rut, and I'm seeing many others do get stuck. Like,
brother, in a lot of the very belligerent and bully propaganda over the past number of years has demonized this term, critical race theory. Just as a review for and I'm going to tie it into what you just said, as a review for the listening audience, critical race theory is not Black history. It's not critical race theory. Never was.
Thank you for clearing that up, please.
It never was.
Right.
You had people who don't want you to know about critical race theory, conflating it with Black history, and saying, that's not critical race theory. Critical race theory is a sociological study, and it's done in college, right?
Yeah.
And critical race theory analyzes how racism has been, to the depth of which it's been institutionalized in the social fabric. There you go. Now, That said, there's a term in critical race theory called interest convergence. And in interest convergence, the ideal is you got both sides of the aisle, and both sides avoid any action, thought, or conversation that may cause them to lose their position. That includes the bottom of the totem pole, people. So people who classify as white are not trying to get in any conversations that may jeopardize their position.
Comfortability.
But people on the bottom of the totem pole are doing the same thing. And that's where the victimization thing comes in. Think that, you think that there's a Balfour Declaration and a Bretton Woods Agreement for our people?
No. Can you explain that again, Sharif?
Sure.
Please, because I understand, because I know what you're talking about. But let's say someone just really missed that. So what do you mean? You're saying that the people on the top really don't want to conflict with people on the bottom no matter what?
Here we go. I'll bring it right down. Thank you for that, brother. I'll bring it right down to something we've all heard and maybe we've all said. Man, it's hard out here for a Black man. Man.
Yo.
You get in, but now, does the difficulty exist? Of course.
Of course it does. Yeah.
But to say it in the vein of, I deserve a break because it's hard.
There it is.
The world doesn't care.
I deserve a freebie because it's hard.
So how does that intersect with the other side?
Wow. See, okay.
Yeah, Doc, he's
Doc is on it today.
He's on.
So
wait till you hit the questions.
So what's happened is we all have become used to our positions. We've become used to them. So now I'm glad you said that, brother. The other side, here we go. They're so used to the privileged position, they believe that they're not privileged.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They believe that, no, we just work hard. No, we're just intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
No, we earn this. You get it?
Of course.
And because they believe that, they're not, there you go. So that's illusory, but they believe it. You see, they're going to fight because they believe the lie. They believe the illusion. No, you all are just lazy and we work hard.
It's like a thermometer. You won't gauge it. You won't know what's hot or what's cold until it's properly gauged.
I do hope people are going to listen to this specific show with. I understand what you're probably saying, but look at the stats, look at the statistics, and stop. I want you to really put that aside for now, because we're not talking about logical thinking. We're talking about how your brain has been programmed.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. Really. So if you a person out of your 5 friends, well, it doesn't matter, that says, I don't think that way, that's good. But we are talking about 300 million people in the United States. We're talking about roughly 41 million Black American people in the United States. There is high percentage, over 80 and 90%, that does not think like you.
Exactly.
Okay,
brother,
so
keep going.
So I just want you to, for you to help us out. If you understand this, explain it to someone you know that isn't like you, so they could get it, so they can open up their mind, so then they could be as strong as you are as of now. So that's what I would like you to. So understand this, so you can explain it. If you get it, ask more questions. Ask us so you can explain it better. Or if you don't know, just keep listening to it, because this is how we got to share this, so everyone is on the collective, so we can move forward in a straight plumb line.
Right, brother.
That's beautiful.
Deep, yo, Mikey, the doctor, when he said, I want you, because when he said, I want you all, the audience, to kind of put aside stats at the moment. But this is very important. That's not unscientific for the doctor to say that. And I'm going to explain why. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read what UNESCO said. UNESCO is the United Nations Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. And I'm going to read what the American Anthropological Association said about this, relative to what the doctor just said about the stats. Listen to this, right? Consider, for example, the way that racial and ethnic identity supposedly predict a range of social outcomes. The typical correlation is that by virtue of being a member of a particular racial or ethnic group, imprisonment, poor health, poverty, and academic failure are more likely. Such an interpretation, while statistically robust, is structurally and substantively incomplete, because it is not the individual's association with a particular racial or ethnic group that predicts these various outcomes, but the attribution of that relationship by others that underlies these outcomes. For instance, a person is not more likely to be denied a mortgage because he or she is Black, but because another person believes that he or she is Black and has already ascribed particular behaviors with that racial or ethnic category. There you go, people.
So here's this. I'm just going to go in. So can you allow me to share my screen?
Oh, definitely. Because I was going to throw that with
the mic drop, and you're going to laugh, Sharif. You just the mic drop.
I was gonna throw that in. Go ahead, share it, upload it, because I was gonna ask that for the first question.
Share my screen. So I gave you the
present. Yeah, you gotta hit the present. It should be in the bottom.
I did.
I don't see it.
Select tab.
Yeah, select the screen. Which one?
Okay, go ahead. Can you see that?
No, I don't see it yet, brother.
Okay.
Why you do that? Can I ask the first question?
Yeah, go ahead.
The first question I'd like to ask: how does victim mentality develop in a person? And this is an aspect of understanding the victim mentality. How does it develop in a person?
Well, I guess that's why I'm gonna end up.
I wish you
share
could
slides and pin.
You should hit the present button on the bottom.
Yeah, hit the present, and I share my screen, and then it says you also need to share tab audio entire screen. Okay, that's it. Entire screen. Share. Okay.
Okay, I got you right now.
Okay, so now
got you right now.
There you go. So everybody can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. So what was the question? First of all, Sharif has said something. He had said with victimization, it's not that you believe that it's how you believe that you may not get a mortgage loan because you're black.
It's because the status quo has already assigned this identity and the characteristics to you ahead of time.
Right, and you believe it. And then your first question was about.
I repeat it. It says, "How does victim mentality develop in a person?"
Okay. When I share my screen, you can just see my full screen. You can't see me, correct?
Yes. There we go.
Okay, so this, first of all, so this pink line, can you see that, my arrow?
Yes.
That pink line is, so these are 4 major dopamine pathways. So you can only see my screen. You can't see me. Is that correct? Mm. Okay. So, because I was talking with my hands. So, so this pink line here is out of the 4 major dopamine pathways. Now, dopamine is increased when you feel victimized. It's part of the stress reliever. It's part of you feeling inferior. And that's before you feel in fear. I'll say this again. If you feel inferior, believing that this is happening to you because ... fill in the blank.
Right.
When I say ... it means for you to fill in the blank. This is happening to you because fill in the blank. I'm black, I'm fat, I'm tall, I'm whatever I am. Mm-hmm. You will generate chemistry that produces in the body and a dopamine faction. And these are the 4 majors. You're going to produce other things that affect the body, and I'm going to get to that. But so I'm going to talk to the chemistry wise. So in the chemistry, you know what dopamine is. Dopamine is a major function, right? But this first function in here, it controls movement, pleasure, and socialization. So basically, we heard me talk before about that pleasure center part of the brain. So this is the first thing you start to trigger when you feel victimized. It is not because, you got to remember, your brain does not have eyes like you do. It just goes off of chemistry. So whatever chemistry you're producing for the reasons of you filling in the blank. I'm black, I'm fat, I'm a woman, I don't have a job, whatever those dots are, you're going to start signaling that chemistry that it wants more of.
That's it.
Like an addict who wants more of this, because you're going to want more of that chemistry to fill that part of the brain.
Deep.
Wow.
Deep.
Very deep right there. So basically, it's like your misery becomes your friend.
Yes, your misery becomes your chemistry drug. Because
Yep.
you created it by what you filled into the dots.
Right.
Now you can also create that. You can also what you call hypercreate that by being genetically predisposed by inherently what your ancestors did, because they used it for survival.
Mm-hmm.
So constantly in survival mode.
Right.
Oof.
The second line, the blue line, right? It's, if you see it, when I've always talked a lot about that prefrontal cortex. Now I'll increase this so people can really see that prefrontal cortex. This is the second that dopamine gets to. Now your mesobolic area where the dopamine triggers it, right? Boom, into here. It's for strong emotional responses. It helps you create your own reality or lack of. Basically, it's your own illusionary channel.
Wow.
That's it. I'm not going to get more into it because there's so much more to go. Number 3 happens. Back into this dorsal here, right? That controls motor functions and movement.
Right.
It controls 80% of the brain's DA.
Got you.
4, right here. Bam, in that pituitary gland. It controls secretions in the pituitary gland, which controls so much of all auditory functions. Next one. This is serotonin. There are 20 known serotonin pathways. I'm not even going to go through all of them. But as you can see, as it starts heading down that spinal cord, that major highway of the body, it affects all of the kidneys and the body functions and all of your 12 organ systems. And everything about you is infected by what you filled in those dots. Last one, not least, because there's so much, and so here is the other one, and here is that stress, that cortisol. Most people see that cortisol as it comes from that kidney area, the adrenals, the immune systems, and guess where it all gets triggered up here? That pituitary gland. That's where that serotonin is, the hippocampus, and back up into that major brain. And that's where the cortisol level actually affects the other hormonal levels. So it becomes a circulatory loop of disaster.
So therefore, you make yourself sick.
Yeah, we knew that.
So I have so to add to that question, from a psychological and emotional aspect, can a person be aware of their own victim mentality?
Yes, hopefully eventually. Because what in essence, just to be really brief, and the doctor did that was incredible to make the biochemical connection between trauma and how, whether the trauma is self-induced or from outside sources, and how we create our own addiction and love affair with our own misery.
Yes.
Right.
So that's why when people say you create your own outcome, this is the science of what that means. So when we talk about victimization, when we talk about anything inferior or anything like that, it answers those questions chemically because you're still filling in the dots with negative vibrations, words, right? All those other things that people talk about. Man, you're talking negative, right? You're not holding the right stone in your correct hand. Whatever, whatever those things are, right? But so I've done the science of the work I've done, and now we're going into, and I'm going to be talking about this in Vegas coming up, getting this major award here with the 21st century and brain science.
That's peace.
I have where we can do the most help, but if people are afraid to talk about AI, the next generation, because we're losing the battle of medication and people are just not willing to put in the work.
Okay.
The numbers say so. We're not talking about the individuals who says, I'll put in the work, I'll go to church, I'll change my faith, I'll do this. I'm not talking about those people who put in the work. But sure enough, the numbers are saying no.
So I want to ask this question.
Go ahead.
Sharif, is victim mentality a learned behavior or innate behavior? Because I know we say predisposed, but can somebody learn that behavior?
Yeah. You could definitely learn that behavior. I would say yes on both ends. I would say it's more learned, but there is an innate part of it because there's human weakness. We see it in children. When children, we all were children. We didn't get our way. Oh, woe is me. You see what I'm saying? And so that has to be trained out. What you have today, we're mass producing victim mentality. Back in the day when we were coming up as children, there were winners and there were losers. And you learned not only how to win honorably, you learned how to lose graciously.
I get a simple answer for victim mentality, how we keep enhancing it though, and it's very subtle. How do you look in that? How do you look in that shirt? You talking to a friend of yours. How do you look in that shirt? I don't feel so good. Well, change it.
Right.
But listen to the conversation. How do I look in this shirt? I don't feel so good. Then change it.
Exactly. Or the trick question you get asked by your significant, your wife. She's gonna come out with an outfit on. She like you just said, I feel I look overweight or this looks bad on me.
Right.
And if you give your honest opinion,
how can you give an honest opinion about how she feels?
Exact. That's the question right there.
So the question is we could talk about how you feel, but do you understand, or what is your development of how did you get to your personal feelings?
That's what I was going to say. The logical aspect. How do you get to your feelings? Because a lot of issues in the world stems from that. It's the person's perspective, how they digest things. It could be a scarring, something that triggers them. And they say they want their feelings to be validated, but then you're penalized for responding to that feeling.
But but they're asking you for something that only they can give themselves.
Exactly.
It's like it's like me saying, call me a cab, and you say you're a cab. I mean, like, come on, what do you you know what I mean? Like, only you validate you. And that's a lesson that has to be taught and learned. And like what I was saying earlier, nowadays, everybody gets an award just for showing up.
But that's when the dot comes in.
Yeah,
that's when that dot.
Yeah, that
you feeling that dot.
Yeah, that encourages victim mentality. Now you got high schoolers and even in college, undergrads, turning in half-baked essays and then literally trying to protest, and they know it's half-baked. but they're trying to protest to get a higher grade.
All right, we got somebody put a comment. Knowing the difference, Javine is saying, knowing the difference between victim and survivor.
Well, I tell you, I've been in some tough situations, and I've never felt victimized. But the only reason I did not feel victimized is because of training. I don't know how else you're going to know the difference until because everybody who has ever lived through some amazing thing has said one thing: I'm going to live. Now I'm going to, I'm going to live. They're stuck in a plane in the Alps or someplace with a bamboo shirt or flip-flops, and it's 30 minus 75 degrees out, and they walk out with, half a leg or whatever, but they live, right? It's because something triggers in them of going to live. There is no victim. And when you learn how to live, survive to live, it takes training, but training takes going to some place and being humble enough and saying, teach me.
Is that?
I don't know. I mean,
so say,
go ahead. Yeah.
Say for instance, being that you have a military background, Reef may have some military background or combat. Say somebody's like, for instance, like a child that may have been violated by an adult, or somebody who had a failed relationship, right? All right. And somebody who has like been, a relationship that failed, and they get stuck in that space where if they see their ex, they got to react a certain way because they still triggered. And it's like, next relationship by experience was the same thing, and they constantly replay that in their mind. Like, how do that person come out of that space right there? It's like a giant void.
Well, no, because I work with people to get them out of the void, right? But I tell you what personally I do, what maybe other people also will tell you that they don't do. It depends on how deep they are in there. I still have to make sure that you're in a safe place before I pull you out, because you may not ready to come out. Right? Besides that, you have to do the work.
Yeah.
It just, that's what goes back to training. So what's the difference between training, practice, and doing?
Training,
practice, and doing.
Doing is actually going out there, stepping out, leap of faith.
And practice means doing it on your own.
Exactly.
I go to training, I practice at home, and then I go do. Those are the things. So you have to go get training. I don't care if it's from whatever professional you need to sort. Now, get it.
So,
I want to touch on that briefly. There's solid methods of addressing that. Professional methods that address how to identify, or how to teach and train a victim of such a thing to locate and pinpoint the trauma, the root of the maladaptive behavior.
Yes.
Right? Bring it back up to the surface. Because what happens in situations that are traumatic, right? The memory of it gets suppressed so that the person can continue living. It's pushed back into the crevices of the subconscious. But it's still there. And because it's still there, it still affects you. But because it's not part of in the waking, part of your waking consciousness, not in the frontal cortex, right? You're not you lose awareness of the fact that it's there, creeping up. In the medieval times, these were called demons. And the grimoires, right, where you're conjuring up one of these 72 demons, is literally an act of bringing it from the deep recesses of the subconscious back to the waking conscious, so you can process it and get rid of it. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But that takes training.
It does not. Therapy.
It does. It takes training. But therapy is the training.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
You see what I mean? And then after you leave your therapist, you go home and practice.
Well, so it leads to this, like why do people with that victim mind?
I do have to make this one point. Teaching martial arts for over 4.5 decades. Because it is a love and passion of mine. I know it is Sharif also. The only things I know when people have come to a truly good teacher, that stuff comes out. Just saying.
That's true.
Because
it's invoked.
because it's invoked because of the balance that you must have, the breath skill you must develop. If something is holding you back, it's not like we're soliciting all your demons, but if something's holding you back, it's going to weaken your body, which comes out in the training. Just saying, nothing else does it. Nothing else does it.
So are you saying people with the victim mindset struggle with accepting accountability?
There's a lot of balance issues, yes.
All right. And how can one, like, as you said, like, it takes a special training in a teacher, but how can you
I would say the simple way is, if you dislike something, so the trauma happened at the age of X. Find out what you dislike that you remember now that you just don't like anymore. It could be like I don't eat Swiss cheese anymore, or I don't wear. It's subtle. It's not as major as you think it is. See if you can remember one of those and ask yourself why. You just don't eat that food anymore, or you just don't.
So some of these things are a lot of these things because we've done it. We push it so far back. The idea is we don't want to remember because it's painful. We push it so far back. It's just like hiding money from yourself, and you hide it so well you forget where you put it. Right? And so that's where the therapy part comes in. You need some assistance, right? To pull it back out, right? So the real heavy lifting, in my humble opinion, is actually first locating the trauma, because we after a while our lives are, all kinds of things that happen in our lives, all kinds of smoke, but we can't see the fire. Where is it coming from, right? I'm going to give a personally. So methods like biofeedback, hypnosis. These are all methods that allow us to do it because we trick the conscious mind to go to sleep and go right to the subconscious.
Exactly.
Right now, personal example, you guys are going to laugh. It's kind of funny. I had a number of years ago, had a meeting with a businessman, and this was going to be like the mother load. It was for me at that time. It was going to be like the mother. It was going to be like, this is going to be great. We're perfect. We're going to make lots of money. Blah 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 blah. And so I'm waiting on the guy. Soon as he walks into my place of business, it seemed like a dark cloud hit the place.
Wow.
And I was just like, I basically sabotaged the entire meeting. I basically was the turnoff, And afterwards, I had to analyze. I'm like, yo, why did I just do that? Or first, it took a minute for me to admit that I'm the one that did it. Then once I was able to do that, I was like, but why? What was it? So literally, I went in there. It was random. I was on a plane, and plane, you'd half sleep, half wake, and I just started to think about the meeting, and in that state of somewhat meditation, I remember when he walked into my place of business, the first thing I focused on was his shoes. And guess what happened? It hit me. You know why? Years prior, I went to go visit a friend of mine. You're gonna laugh, Mikey, because you're from Brooklyn. I'm from Uptown. I'm from the Bronx. Right. So I went to go visit a friend of mine, close friend of mine, right, who lived in East New York. And so it was the last stop. It was the New Lights Ave stop.
New Lights, yep.
And he was like, "I'm gonna meet you." I said, "Nah, I'm good." He said, "Nah, bro, I'm gonna meet you there." I said, "Nah, I'm good." He said,
"Not East New York."
Man, they smelled that out. Man, they smelled me a mile away. You hear me? And they must have just been practicing because they didn't take nothing. But there's about 15 little knuckleheads that jumped on me. And all you know is that old school where you just try to make sure you cover a hole and wait for them to get tired and leave.
Yeah.
All I remember was the one guy talking the most trash, and I wanted to get this dude so bad, but I couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
And he had on those same shoes.
The trick it brought back. It came back. That happens. Self-sabotage. The trauma, because as both of you said respectfully.
But look at the trigger.
Right. People that's the trigger. We tend to like bury these things, and the same thing happened. Like I had experiences in life where you push these things so far back, and as the doc said earlier, I always had that mindset: I'm gonna survive this. Because I always put that in my mind, like 3 months from now, I'm gonna be fine.
Right.
But then it's like you basically tricking yourself, but you haven't fully processed the information, like what's happening around you, because you're just in survival mode. So I guess this is where that victim mentality comes from. But then I want to know more as far as those who walk around feeling sorry for themselves. You see, you acknowledge that. So that's the accountability. But I'm talking about those who perpetually walk around all the time, say, it's just me, whoa, me. This doesn't work out,
I don't think they can, they're not going to recognize it. They're just not going to, they're just not going to see their shadow. They're just not. It's the Peter Pan complex, right? They're just not going to see it.
Wow. I think of it like that. I think that's a factor. I think the other one is a societal factor, and that is
inferiority.
We've lived in a society where we're taught that that mediocrity is all right.
But I also, this is going to hit home. This is going to be not that it matters, because the person's not going to see it. It's not going to know that they are. But a person that doesn't see that they are victimized, they don't want to acknowledge how inferior they actually are.
Because it will affect their relationships around them. Any relationship that they try to develop, it will affect it. Yeah.
Right. So being the inferior human, the brain is going to adapt you into cloaking yourself. That's why people have a hard time joining things they have to prove themselves to. And this goes back to different organizations where you have to prove yourself to. You have to go through the catechisms. You have to go through oaths. You have to go through types of training. They won't make it through those because they'll be like, man, this is dumb. Because they're being in those situations, they're proving to themselves they aren't capable
of being accountable.
Well, we have a saying in the Moorish science of America: without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength. And thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. To that point, what the doctor spoke to, a lot of people don't want to be, we have another saying in another school of thought, right? Being off tried, never denied. Well, okay. A lot of people don't want to subject themselves to the trial. But success and advancement and improvement are always on the other side of struggle. Always.
Of course.
So people run from the very thing that would advance them. As a matter of fact, we live in a society, like I was saying earlier, we live in a society that encourages you to run from the very thing that would advance you. Why? It makes you easier to control.
Easy to control. And as you mentioned, society gives you these enablers that support that behavior.
Yes.
You got some, because, speaking from, how should I put it? I never had I don't want to say never, but a victim mentality where I'm triggered by certain things. But one thing I'm triggered by, and I think it just does come from childhood, was people that are reactive and not responding.
That's still a trigger.
It is a trigger because that box. I'm like you didn't really put thought into that. You're just gonna react. You didn't think about that, or sometimes I learn how to be more vulnerable because I used to be like, yo, this person too sensitive to be around me, man.
Right.
Because like I have gone through this, but then I gotta be patient, understand that we all walk different paths in life.
Correct.
But I think my experiences kind of hardened me. I could say that.
Yeah.
Well, just think about your survival, that survival instinct. If he's too sensitive to be around, that means in a tough situation, he's going to give you up. So that means that decreases your sense of being able to survive a particular situation. So you just weeded him out, or that type of person out. That's sense of survival. So you had to recognize all this was based off of survival code. Not living, right? Survival.
Does that make me a victim though? Being in constant survival mode.
It did at the time, right?
Yeah. So that's what I want to. That's what I want to ask. I just want to know how can, like, say for instance, a person that doesn't know how to get help to overcome these conditions of having a victim mentality or feeling like failed at all times. How can one overcome that?
Scientifically, when we were talking about critical race theory and how what was studied and all this other stuff, there were other things that were also studied for a very long time. I mean, besides the stars and the moons and the universe, the brain is also the next thing that's been the most studied because of human condition and human movement. When people didn't feel that they were responsive to the movement of a empire, they got rid of them. So you're asking, what do we do with a person? A lot of them went to the penitentiary. Now, that we can break up out of the 10 people that are locked up. Besides being targeted, victimized, right? But if we could have changed the things that they put in that empty ... for them, how many do you think would be there out of 10?
I believe all.
No, there's people in the wrong place at the wrong time.
That happens. You're right about that. Wrong place, wrong time. But
and then you got some people who are just mean and evil.
There are victims as well that haven't behaved in such manner.
So I actually think 6. I think that's my number off the top of my head. I think 6 people we could take out of prison out of 10.
So for instance, if people are in like toxic relationships, marriage whatsoever, right? ... What they filling in a void.
Yeah, like they're filling in something.
Yeah, but they know it's not the greatest to be in. It could be physically, verbally, emotionally abusive, right?
Because I think they stop asking themselves not why am I here, how I am here.
Yeah, but how can they lead themselves out of that situation?
Well, no. Just ask themselves, how are they here? Because they'll jump so often. They'll say, "Why am I here?"
Circumstances.
No. How am I here? How is a physical action?
Can you further elaborate on that?
Yeah. So, I meet a person because I meet a person out. They seem nice. I give him my Instagram. and it's late at night, and I decided to inbox them. We decided to meet up later that week.
It goes down in a DM.
So we meet up later that week for coffee, and then I end up sleeping with her. While I'm in bed with her, I ask myself, how did I get here? Well, how did I get there? I was lonely because I had no one. And so I inboxed her that one night at Instagram. I never asked myself, what was I lonely about? Why couldn't I not be able to sit with myself? What was I searching for?
I think it's unresolved matters that led to that.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the how. Well, she was just playing like a role in my own little prefrontal cortex reality. Remember remember how you can create your own reality by the dopamine that's being. So that's how that goes. So you're creating your own reality.
Got you. So that's what this victim mindset is. So basically, we could say that some people do have some, chemical imbalance, but these things could be corrected if they actually put in the time, the work, the dedication to themselves.
Yeah,
that's what it basically sounds like.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to do that when I leave the house at 7 in the morning. I get my kids up. I walk out the door. I get my kids up, make sure they go to school. I'm a single this. I go to single that. And then I got to get on this train. And I got to get on that train. And then I got to drive here. Then I got to go drive there. Then I got to work for this guy or that person all day long. And I got to get stuck in traffic. And then that's where you're going to get a lot of what you call reasons that develops into excuses.
The reason, I think the easiest way is knowing the purpose, that you have a purpose. You have a little one that looks up to you. That should be more of a purpose to want to do good, to live and get yourself correct. That's just me. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's not just you. It is a good idea, but they say, well, I have all this, but there's still time for you to still work on you. I hope there's time to watch this show and learn something from it. I hope there's snippets you get from it. I hope that you watch this in pieces. I hope you're able to share this with friends and family. I hope you're able to learn something from it instead of breeze right by it, because this is going to be helpful for the community, right? I mean, if this wasn't helpful, none of us would really do it.
That's true.
I mean, I wouldn't.
No, I respect that, and I appreciate you guys. But I'm gonna ask a real bombshell question here, and this is for Brother Reef. Then I want Brother Dyer to add on.
Okay.
Do you think the so-called black man has a victim mindset?
Absolutely.
In 2025.
Absolutely. We've been trained and socialized to. That's a big part of the problem, and that was something I was going to mention earlier. And I'm glad you asked the question because it brought the thought back. Socially speaking, in the present status quo, I'm going to preface what I'm about to say.
Hold on, Reef. Want to go? Peace for the super chat, brother. Assalamu alaikum. Appreciation.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna preface what I'm about to say about this with this one hard statistic, right? And this has been the case for a while. Urban music accounts for 33%, probably more now, but 33% of world music sales revenue. 33%. Now,
that's crazy. That's such a crazy number.
Yeah. That's a lot, but that's a lot of money.
Exactly.
But here's the crazier part. We know, at least domestically in America, who's the largest buyer of that product?
Europeans.
Suburban Europeans.
Mhm.
But who determines, in large part, what they're buying? Us in the hood.
Exactly.
We say what's hot. So, in essence, who really has the power? We do. But who is using it? Not us. Because we do not collectively benefit from that 33%.
No, we don't.
Right. You see what I'm saying? So, but now somebody benefits, right? And whoever's benefiting, it's not in their interest for us to benefit from it. Am I right?
You're right.
All right. That means they have a stake in the continued victim mentality of our community, because the opposite of that is collective self-determination.
Yep.
When you kill not just collective self-determination, but the hope of collective self-determination, there's nothing left but victim mentality. Once upon a time, there was a Black Wall Street. There was a Rosewood. There was a Green. You see what I'm saying? There were dozens of quote-unquote African-American cities and towns. The fact that they existed means that we did not have a problem with collective self-determination, and we did not have a problem with mass victim mentality. It was so what we all know the history, or we should know, right? That was terrorized out of us.
Exactly.
The only thing to replace it with, or the only thing that could fill its space, is growing collective victim mentality. It's it's this. I'm gonna end it with this. What was the song that Michael Jackson sung in The Wiz?
Get on down the road.
You can't win, you can't get even, and you can't get out the game.
No, it's true. So basically, it's like they take away your ability to think for yourself, and they basically have you.
Yes.
So with that said, let me be real quick, doctor. But
the victimization happens because, like Brother Sharif said, they terrorize it out of you by you creating a false narrative of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You creating a false narrative of yourself. They give you some statistics which are true in a sense, but they're not flawed. They're data and statistics, right? But if you've never, remember how many people have taken stats and data in college and hated the course, because there's more to it, trust me, right? Than just read a number and saying 13%, 8%. It's reading it in context. When you're doing an analysis, you got to understand the context of what the percentage is telling you in the scale it was taking from.
Mm-hmm.
That's more than just saying 8%, 5%, 20%, 28%. People who don't know that fill in those blanks with a false narrative of themselves.
Got you.
So as a Black man, it's hard out here.
Mm-hmm.
They told you that. They keep ripping on that lie. We're being hunted out here. They told you that. But there's Black men getting shot. I'm not saying these things are not happening, but it doesn't happen to you if you do this. You see what I'm saying? There's still right, because the percentage on the overall, you're less likely for this to happen to you right now.
Yeah, basically, do what you got to do, man. Stay the course. Think for yourself. And then go back to accountability, and that's
No,
what it is.
but as they keep feeding you and you keep implementing that ... and it goes back to the beginning of the show, you look into that dopamine and how it affects your brain and how it affects your body and how it runs down. That's the cycle we'll keep trying to talk you out of.
Words of power. Action. Got you, brothers.
But, you know, and you know, to add to that, you know, the good doctor earlier, when he talked about the dopamine cycle, it all began when they thought that was a response to trauma. So because I want to make sure the viewers don't regulate this whole thing to biochemistry as cause, thought as cause. Biochemistry is a direct result, and it sets in motion the chain of events. You see what I'm saying? So biochemistry is physical. Thought has physical effects, but it's not physical.
It does.
See?
It does. It does. It goes back to what you guys were saying earlier. You don't see with your eyes, you see with your mind. So it's whatever you ingesting verbally, auditory, whatever you've taken in, will create your reality. You know, and also your environment, as I said earlier, that environmental neurosis. If there's other chaos around you, you're gonna think that's all it is. That life is your life is based upon is just utter straight up chaos. So we got to change that. Brothers, I like to stay longer, but we got to get up out of here.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? But I appreciate you too, and you know what I'm saying. I know it's been a long week. We got to come back.
Yeah.
I just want to say it's a victim mentality for those who are angry about the Kendrick halftime show. Your tears taste like fine wine. You know what I'm saying? I loved it. Keep on dancing. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? And for those, I know it's entertainment. Someone says it's a psyops or whatever, but pay attention to what was done on stage.
Right.
Use your brain to get the message. It's not about entertainment, because I don't want to sound wrong, but it's easy to entertain a child or a monkey. But this is something that was done for your mind to think.
Yeah.
So I just want to say I appreciate you, brothers, for being on the show. Our listeners, our guests.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? It's all love, man. Our viewers. Peace and love, and we out, man.
Yes, sir.
Peace.